Greetings from Everquest Footpad. This is going to be a different type of video for me. So the types of videos that I put out in the past included, poison making for the Everquest game, as well as raid content, and group content for Everquest. I put a little bit of lore out there, which I really like. I love Everquest, but really the purpose of this really is purely academic. And what I'm looking at is I'm looking at these words, Calodinium and Chorusine and Delphinium and Laburnum and Larkspur. I'm looking at all these words that the Everquest designers, they put in their game. Excuse me, I'm going to drink some coffee. So the Everquest designers put these words in their game. And I ask myself, where are these words coming from? And I think to myself, what do we really have that's better than our shared language and the power of our language? I looked up the roots of some of these words. So this is kind of like an entomological study, but I'm also looking at what do these chemicals actually do in real life. So when you look at mucosamol, that's used to make Quelleus trauma, which reduces aggro. And when you look at Niagara Venter venom here, that's used to make spiders bite. And you look at Chorusine here, that's used to make bite of the Shizra. But obviously, when you look at the word mucosamol, you type it into a Wikipedia search engine and you pull up this chemical, mucosamol. It turns out mucosamol is actually a principal psychoactive ingredient in these Amantia muscarina, which are these magic mushrooms, which certain indigenous tribes of the North American continent used for their vision quests. And also in the 60s culture, the 60s counterculture, this is when people started experimenting with these types of drugs recreationally. But when you actually look at the science of them, you actually see that mucosamol is a potent selective agonist. That means it stimulates the GABA A receptor, or the GABA aminobutyric acid A subtype receptor. So this is the GABA receptor here. This is the structure of it. And GABA aminobutyric acid is a neurotransmitter, and it binds to this GABA receptor in the brain. And GABA, what it does is it regulates the flow of chloride. If you look really closely, this is a chloride anion, And when GABA aminobutyric acid binds to this receptor and chloride flows, this tends to have an inhibitory effect in certain parts of the brain, wherever we need those inhibitory signals, Now, there are these sites located on this GABA receptor. It's a very complicated receptor in the brain. Now, some of these will bind to GABA aminobutyric acid, which is the neurotransmitter, which is its natural ligand. But there are other ligands, such as benzodiazepines, which is a drug. It acts as something to reduce anxiety. It also binds to this GABA aminobutyric acid receptor, and it binds to this allosteric site, as well as barbiturates. So barbiturates and benzodiazepines will bind to these allosteric sites and regulate the flow of chloride through this channel. They don't work directly on this receptor. And so they have an effect of like calming down the nervous system without going into a lot of the pharmacology. They calm down the nervous system in patients that have, they might have anxiety, or they might have seizures. Some of these can be used as anti-seizure drugs. They have a lot of different uses, actually. And it's not just for uses in humans, but also for use in animals too. So what mucosamol does, this magic mushroom, the active ingredient in the magic mushroom, they have a direct effect on this GABA receptor. You see how it says a potent selective agonist for the GABA A receptor. So they allow free flow of chloride through this channel. So, don't you just love that? You go to Everquest, you do this search, you're curious about the root word, you look up the word, and you found out all this stuff. And when you actually delve a little deeper, you can figure out how mucosamol is actually synthesized. So if you don't need a mushroom to make it for you, you can make it for yourself in a laboratory with this method. So I just love that. That's just so interesting that you can go from Everquest to pharmacology, to anatomy, to toxicology, and study all this great stuff. It's all here. It's all, even if you understand it just a little, it's all here. When we look at Niagara Venter is really cool. This is actually a spider that's found in South America, Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina. Here's a picture of him. He looks pretty fearsome here. Actually, I think this is a female. I'm not sure that that's a male. So this is a Brazilian wandering spider, and the Niagara Venter venom is actually 6 neurotoxic peptides, okay, that actually, when they bite you, and they're actually pretty docile, in addition to causing inflammation at the site, and some of these pictures are kind of gruesome, I kind of don't want to bring them up, but the main side effects of this are priapism, tachycardia, arrhythmias, cardiogenic shock, pulmonary edema, and convulsions. Okay, so this is actually a pretty nasty bite. Priapism is it can cause an erection that doesn't go away, which is actually a medical emergency. And so what that can result in is permanent impotence, and in some cases it can lead to amputation. So this is really sad. But tachycardia is a very, very rapid heart rhythm, arrhythmias, cardiogenic shock, pulmonary edema, and convulsions. So this is the Niagara Venter. This is a real-life Niagara Venter. Okay, when we look at Chorusine, Chorusine is actually a genus of beetle, right? And they produce this, I can't even pronounce it, BTX poison. I can't pronounce that word. This BTX poison is a cardio and neurotoxic steroidal alkaloid. So it is a steroid. Its basic skeletal framework is a steroid, but what this beetle did was it modified the steroids to produce this toxin. This is also found in frogs, and it's used by certain tribes in South America to make poison darts. So they poison their darts with this steroidal-based alkaloid. And this is a neurotoxin, and what it can do, my understanding is, and I actually have notes, I actually took notes, this is how interesting this was for me. Basically what they do is they poison their darts. The way this works is it works on voltage-gated sodium channels, prevents them from closing. And basically it's a paralytic. This works as a paralytic. And there's no known antitoxin to this. So you can't reverse the effects of this. So this is extremely toxic. And this is present in really, really small, brightly colored frogs and certain species of beetles that are found, I believe, in New Zealand and Australia. So that's pretty cool. I just want to look up a couple others. All of these have their roots in the English language. Calodinium is one. Laburnum is another. This is kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and look up laburnum. Go under my search engine here. Okay, here's laburnum. So this is like an ornamental tree, right? It's a tree that just grows in your backyard. They're native to Europe and the southeast. They grow in Anatolia, which is in Turkey. And it's just really, really beautiful tree. But it tends to grow this neurotoxic pod. So it's a deciduous tree, which makes these like really beautiful flowers. I mean, look at these. But I guess from nature, when we see something that is this brightly colored, that tends to mean stay away from this tree. And this works on the nicotinic receptor, and it agonizes the receptor. And so it's extremely poisonous. So this can have toxicity, which include nausea, vomiting, foaming at the mouth, unequally dilated pupils. This is actually being studied right now. It's being studied for smoking cessation. So they're derivatizing this cytosine, this guy, and they're using it in smoking cessation studies. That's pretty neat. when we go up here and just continue going down the line, we have Oleander. Don't forget Oleander. Now, Oleander was used, there's Oleander. This is a shrub. This is an ornamental shrub. So we decorate our yards with this. And Oleander is used to make Myrmidon sloth in Everquest. When you look at Everquest Trader's Corner, it actually is Oleander is used to make Myrmidon sloth. It's over here, and it's a melee slope. But in real life, Oleander, the active ingredient is Oleandrin, and it's got these 5 petals. See these 5 petals? It's arranged and they're pink, red, and white, and they're gorgeous looking flowers. I mean, look at that. But again, like I said, in nature, when you have this bright color, usually it means it's suggestion to animal life to stay away from this plant. All right, you decorate your yard, and I don't think it's going to matter if you decorate your yard, but you really want to keep your house pets and your young kids away from this stuff. Oleandrin, one thing that kind of limits its toxicity is that it actually has a very, very bitter taste, which is like unpalatable. So its toxicity is uncommon. Generally, it's detected in farm animals, like grazing animals. So like say a goat or a cow gets a mouthful of this stuff, then they start having really, really excessive salivation, nausea, and vomiting, and an irregular heart rhythm. The active ingredient, like I said, was Oleandrin, and Oleandrin, let me see if I can pull it up here. Oleandrin is a cardiac glycoside. It's got to be somewhere around here. Oleandrin, there you go. There's a picture of Oleandrin. So this is a cardiac glycoside. Again, it has this basic steroidal framework, but there's the derivatization that the plant does to the steroid. So it's a plant-based steroidal toxin. And the way that it works is it's a cardiac glycoside, a lot like digoxin or digitalis, but its therapeutic index is very low. And so what that means is a therapeutic index, what that means is the difference between the minimal effective dose for this to behave as a therapeutic agent for certain antiarrhythmias, and a lethal dose is very, very small. That means it has a very limited use therapeutically. So really, it's only acting as a poison. But I mean, look how lovely that is. That's gorgeous. So the way that it works is if you get a toxic dose of this, you can get a very, very lethal heart arrhythmia that leads to seizure and then a coma and death. So that's Oleandrin. Let's see here. We also have delphinium. Let's see, I'm going through my notes. Taipan. Let's leave plants and let's go to the Taipan. The Taipan is pretty cool. Let's type this in here. I think I'll just finish this video with the Taipan. So the Taipan is a snake. Okay, this is a snake that's indigenous to Australia. Highly venomous, very fast moving. Okay. Now the Taipan has 2 subspecies, and it's one of the deadliest known snakes. Okay. This is a snake that has no anti-venom is available, okay? And really, it's another one of these, kind of like the Niagara Venter, where it produces a peptide-based neurotoxin, okay? And it also acts as a clotting agent. So it's actually, the snake can become quite large. And because of its large size, it can deliver a very, very toxic dose that can just kill in seconds. It really, not much more can be said about the Taipan venom. It just kills you outright. Death incarnate, man. When you look at Mamba, the thing is, Mamba got a lot of. I'm actually mistyping this. M-A-M-B-A, or not Mama. Mamba. Okay. Mamba. This is a Mamba. This is native to Africa. The Mamba is just about as deadly as the Taipan, but at least with the Mamba, we have anti-venom available. So when Mamba poisoning is detected in hospitals, at least there's anti-venom available. With the Taipan, there is no anti-venom. So anyways, we discussed that. I guess we could cover Delphinium, but you guys get the idea that we have these root words that actually mean something, and when you actually perform like a little bit of investigative study, you actually can reveal a lot of really, it's almost like a nature video where on Animal Planet you reveal a whole aspect of the game that leads you to some really interesting educational content, which if you're entertained by that, by all means look up these words. And anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it was a little not really what YouTubers that look at gaming content are used to, but it's just something that I like and I thought I'd share, and I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks. Bye.